Hello everybody, happy Friday. Hopefully you guys have some exciting plans for this weekend. I know there's a lot going on in the world for sure. We've announced here on social media that we're going to be doing these weekly live streams on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages to talk about the Russia-Ukraine conflict and your cyber safety. So the goal is going to be to talk a little bit about what's going on, what we're seeing, what we're hearing about, maybe some of the things that you've heard in the news, and then to offer a tip on something that you can do to help improve, your safety, your security, your business continuity, and then also to answer questions. So hopefully some of you are able to watch this live, and if so, love to see in the comments, post any thoughts, any questions you've got. We'd love to answer questions live. For those of you that may be watching this recording later, thank you for watching it. Hopefully you find the information I'm sharing useful. So I'm going to get right into it here. I will point out, last week I was interviewed by Channel 8 News in the Reno area on this topic, on Russia, Ukraine, cybersecurity, kind of what's going on. I've shared links to that article in social media previously. Love you guys to go check it out. Give me your thoughts on that as well. That kind of kicked this off, right? So last week we had that. This week we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth and sharing some more information. So the goal of these, like I said, is to talk about what's going on in the events over Russia and Ukraine and maybe how they relate to us here in the United States, to share a tip on cyber safety, and then answer your questions. The goal is to spend about 5 minutes on each of those and to go no more than 15 minutes. I guess if we get a ton of questions, maybe we'll go over time. But so talking a little bit about the cybersecurity news and what's going on over with Russia and Ukraine. You guys have probably seen it in the news. Lots of stuff has been discussed. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I do want to share some high-level stuff. So what's going on over there is not new. CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and the FBI have partnered up on a lot of these things, just like they do on a lot of the cybersecurity stuff that affects the United States and others around the world. And they've published information, as have others, about kind of the timeline of events. And some of this started way back in January. So back in January, there were 2 attacks started from Russia to Ukraine called Whispergate and Hermetic Wiper. And these are malware that once they get loaded on the machine, deletes everything. They don't encrypt it, they don't hold it ransom, it's gone. It's deleted, gone. And Microsoft first detected this, let Ukraine know what they were seeing, but it's been ongoing. And just recently, CISA and the FBI both jointly issued statements stating that there could be, Russia appears to be trying to target Ukrainian organizations, businesses, governments, etc., but there could be some carryover, right? So just because they're trying to target Ukraine doesn't mean it's not going to affect others. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be picked up by other criminal organizations and then used in attacks against businesses in the United States. So just be aware, they've issued that warning about it. We've seen this last Monday, it was announced that Ukraine Border Patrol was hit by a wiper malware. I didn't see which one of those 2, but it was one of those 2 that they've been attacking. There's been other cyber attacks going on. Yesterday, I found this one interesting. This seems, I don't know the proper word, but it just, kind of seems to fit the MO of Russia and some governments that have a little bit more control. They started publishing what looked like legitimate government websites in Ukraine, displaying fake news, suggesting that Zelensky's government had surrendered to the Russians, which is not true at all. So they're spreading misinformation via hacked websites and other things. They're deleting computers and data and other critical infrastructure systems and trying to shut things down as much as they can through their cyber warfare division. So a lot of that's going on. A lot of it may seem like, oh, well, that's not going to affect me. And hopefully it doesn't, right? Hopefully it stays over there very regional. Hopefully they're able to come to peace terms quickly and this doesn't get drawn out. But the reality is if you're not affected by the Russia-Ukraine, doesn't mean you're not going to be affected by cybersecurity and attacks from criminals and others in various parts of the world. So the tip today, I'm going to share a little bit. 98% of all cyber attacks, this is according to a study. I'll see if I can find the reference and post it, but the study said that 98% of attacks rely on social engineering. So the best way, one of the best ways to prevent attacks is to train your staff, right? Make sure that your staff knows what social engineering is, what phishing is, what fake websites look like, how to detect things that don't appear to be legitimate and not fall for those tricks, right? So those could come from fake websites, they can come from email phishing attempts, they can come from social media posts and messages and fake profiles, they can come from text messages, they can also come from phone calls, right? I'll just tell you this, you're never going to get a phone call from the FBI, Microsoft, or Apple saying that they detected that there's some malware on your computer, they need to remote in and fix it. It's not going to happen, right? Those are scams. They're social engineering to try to trick you into giving access to your system. So, you need to be trained on how to recognize those yourself and train your staff as well. So that's one of the biggest things I can tell you. There's various different online training regimens that can be used to provide this training. Lots of different stuff out there. If you're looking for doing phishing testing, phishing training within your organization, please contact me. We can do that. It's not very expensive, very easy to use. What we do is we par the training with the testing, which means we have a training campaign that we run that says, hey, watch this video, answer these questions, understand it, and then later, whether it's days, weeks, months, we launch a fake phishing attack, right? So we're targeting your employees with a phishing campaign that looks similar to what the criminals use, right? But it goes along with what we've been training them on to see if they learn, right? Or to see if they're going to fall for it. And if they fall for it, well, whichever users fall for it, they probably need a little bit more training. And so we can then do a second round of training. And our recommendation is to do this. We recommend doing it quarterly at least. If that's too much for you and your organization, then 6 months, once a year. But the important thing is that there's regular training going on with your staff on how to recognize these things. So that's our big tip for the day, is train your staff on how to recognize these attacks, because the majority of that's how they get in. That's how they get credentials. That's how they get access to systems, is they run these social engineering campaigns and attacks. Next week, we're going to be doing this every Friday for the next month and a half or so, and going to be going through the same format, right? So please join us every Friday, 1 o'clock. We're going to be sharing some of the new stuff in the news, some of the stuff that we're seeing and hearing about, sharing a tip, and then answering any questions. So next week, the tip we're going to be talking about is we're going to talk about backup. So I mentioned this malware that the Russian government is using in Ukraine, right? That's wiping data. Well, it's critical that you have a backup. So we'll talk a little bit about some tips on backup next week. We also are going to have a webinar in 2 weeks specifically talking about backup solutions for your business. So we'll give you a little teaser of that next week in our live stream. And then the following week in our webinar, we'll be diving much deeper into the various types of backup and different solutions, and how they can help your business, your organization be protected against cyber attacks, such as what Ukraine is facing over against, from Russia. Looks like there's no questions so far been posted in the comments. So hopefully, we can get some live questions next week answered. If you watch this later and have a question, post it in the comments. Send me a private message. I'd love to answer any and all questions that you've got. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk next week. Thank you.